A billionaire businessman goes on national television and says what millions of people in this country have been thinking for years, that Britain has been colonized by immigrants, that 9 million people are sitting on benefits, that politicians need courage to fix it. And the Prime Minister's response? He demands an apology. Not an apology for the state of the NHS, not an apology for record immigration, not an apology for failing the people who elected him. No, he wants Jim Ratcliffe to apologize for telling the truth. Here's what we're going to uncover today. 1. What Ratcliffe actually said and why Starmer is desperate to distract from the substance of it. 2. The real immigration and benefits numbers that this government refuses to confront. And 3. Why attacking a businessman for speaking plainly tells you everything about where this Prime Minister's priorities actually lie. This is a government that would rather police language than police the border. Let's start with what actually happened, because the way Downing Street has framed this, you'd think Jim Ratcliffe have committed a hate crime. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, founder of Ineos, one of the largest chemical companies on the planet, co-owner of Manchester United, sat down with Sky News, and he spoke with the kind of bluntness that politicians in this country have completely abandoned.
And huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause...
It's been colonised?
It'll cause... Well, yeah. The UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million.
Now, you can debate whether colonized was the perfect word. Politicians and media commentators will spend the next 48 hours doing exactly that, obsessing over one word, picking it apart, performing outrage for the cameras. But here's what they won't do. They won't address the substance, because the substance is devastating. 9 million people on benefits. His number. Let's check it. The Office for National Statistics confirms that approximately 5.7 million people in the UK are claiming out-of-work benefits. Add in those on in-work universal credit, disability-related payments, and other forms of state support, and the total number of benefit claimants in this country stretches well beyond 8 million. Ratcliffe's figure is in the right ballpark. And immigration? Net migration hit 906,000 in the year ending June 2023. Under this Labour government, the numbers have remained at historically unprecedented levels. We are not talking about tens of thousands. We are talking about a population the size of a major city arriving every single year. Ratcliffe pointed at those two facts and said the country needs to get back on track, and for that, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom told him to apologize. But it gets worse. Look at Starmer's actual response. Look at it carefully, because it reveals everything. Britain is a proud, tolerant, and diverse country. That's his answer. That is the Prime Minister's response to a man raising serious concerns about economic sustainability, welfare dependency, and uncontrolled migration. A slogan, a bumper sticker, a line that could have been written by a diversity consultant at a corporate away day. He didn't engage with the 9 million on benefits. He didn't address the immigration numbers. He didn't offer a single policy solution. He just reached for the outrage button and pressed it. And ask yourself, who benefits from that? Not you. Not the people waiting 18 months for a hip replacement, not the young couple who can't afford a house because demand has been artificially inflated by hundreds of thousands of new arrivals every year, not the communities that have been completely transformed without anyone ever asking their permission. The only person who benefits is Keir Starmer. Because as long as the conversation is about whether Ratcliffe's language was offensive, nobody is asking the Prime Minister why he hasn't fixed any of the problems Ratcliffe described. Now stay with me, because I'm going to show you a comparison later in this video that completely exposes the hypocrisy of Starmer's outrage. It involves what Labour politicians themselves have said about immigration when they thought nobody important was listening. You will not want to miss it. There was another part of that interview that barely got reported, and it might be the most important thing Ratcliffe said. He said Starmer was maybe too nice. He said what Britain needs is someone prepared to be unpopular for a period of time to get the big issues sorted out. He even said Nigel Farage was an intelligent man with good intentions.
I think Nigel is an intelligent man, and I think he's got good intentions, but in a way you could say exactly the same about Keir when Keir came in. But, I think it needs somebody who's prepared to be unpopular for a period of time to get the big issues sorted out, would be my view.
Now that last part will have sent shockwaves through Downing Street, because Ratcliffe isn't some fringe figure posting on social media. This is one of Britain's most successful industrialists, a man who has built a global empire, a man who employs tens of thousands of people, and he's publicly saying that the leader of Reform UK has a better understanding of the country's problems than the sitting Prime Minister. That is catastrophic for Starmer, not because of party politics, but because of what it represents. The business community, the wealth creators, the employers, the people whose investment this country desperately needs, they are losing confidence. And here's the hypocrisy I promised you. Remember Gordon Brown, the former Labour Prime Minister? In 2010, he was caught on a hot microphone calling a voter named Gillian Duffy a bigoted woman. Her crime? She asked him about immigration from Eastern Europe, a legitimate question from a lifelong Labour voter, and Brown's instinct, his gut reaction when he thought the cameras were off, was to dismiss her as a bigot. 15 years later, nothing has changed. A member of the public raises immigration. Labour's response? Smear them. A billionaire raises immigration. Labour's response? Demand an apology. The pattern is identical. Anyone who questions the consensus is attacked, shamed, and told to shut up. They have learned absolutely nothing. And this connects to something much larger, something fundamental about why this country feels broken. For over 20 years, the British public have been told that their concerns about immigration are illegitimate, racist, offensive. They have been gaslit by an entire political class that opened the borders, reaped the economic benefits of cheap labor, and then called anyone who complained a bigot. Brexit was supposed to be the corrective. 62% of the country voted to take control of immigration. That was 2016, 9 years ago. And what happened? Net migration didn't fall, it exploded. Under the Conservatives, it hit record highs, and under Labour, there is no credible plan to bring it down. Meanwhile, public services are buckling. GP surgeries are overwhelmed, schools are oversubscribed, housing is unaffordable, and the welfare bill keeps climbing. Jim Ratcliffe looked at that reality and described it in plain English. He used a word that made politicians uncomfortable. Good, they should be uncomfortable. They should be squirming, because the comfortable consensus they've maintained for 20 years that mass immigration is an unqualified good and anyone who disagrees is a bad person, that consensus has destroyed trust in democracy itself. Starmer had a choice when Ratcliffe spoke. He could have said, the language was strong, but the underlying concerns are valid, and here's what we're doing about it. That would have been leadership. That would have been the response of a prime minister who actually listens. Instead, he tweeted, he virtue signaled, he demanded an apology from a man whose business contributes to the British economy in a single quarter than most government departments manage in a year. That is not leadership. That is cowardice dressed up as compassion. So, let's bring it together. Jim Ratcliffe said what millions of British people believed, that immigration is too high, that welfare dependency is crippling the economy, that politicians lack the courage to fix it. The Prime Minister's response was not to engage with the argument, it was to silence it, to demand an apology, to wave the flag of tolerance and diversity while ignoring the very real consequences that ordinary people are living with every single day. This is a government that is more interested in controlling what you're allowed to say than controlling who comes into this country, and until that changes, nothing else will. If you agree that this government is failing, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because someone needs to keep saying what they don't want you to hear. And that's exactly what this channel is for.